Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It is in time for our top 8 for Fright Night number 10. Now, I do have a little bit different of an audio setup this time, so chat, help me out. As you can see, my mic is up here. My throat has been bothering me for a few days, so it gives out a little bit through the event. You know why. Had to adjust things a little bit. We're doing it on the fly. Speaking of adjusting, we're going to fix the volume here real quick. We got to fix that. All right. Mondavius, what's good? What's good? I'm excited for a lot of very impressive players showcasing their phobie skills here in the top 8. Now, before we get into everything, we're of course in the pre-playoff time frame. I kind of stumbled a bit there, but I do have to let everybody know that, of course, I am part of the content affiliate program. That means that the team does give me coffee for producing Phobies content. And the team is also sponsoring this event with coffee prizes, as with many of the past Fright Nights. So the players are playing for a lot of stuff. Let's see what they do today. So this is our top 8. This is our top 8 after 5 rounds of Swiss yesterday. Fighting through the competition, we have our 8 players over here in this bracket. Single elimination, best 2 of 3 with map bans and no Phobies banned. We saw Shadow Force kind of plow through the competition with some of the more maligned Phobies, the more common public enemies, but we saw a variety of different strategies both utilized against them as well as in the other games throughout the event. So I'm anxious to see what people are going to choose both map-wise and strategy-wise as we go through this event. Now, at this point in time, we're still leading up to what's going on, so I'm just waiting for all the players to trickle in. So yeah, we have all of the players. They're going to be getting geared up. We do have everybody on ye old frenemies list so that way we can actually get this going. So chat, I'm actually going to put some predictions up. Let's see. Let's have some fun with this. So what game, of the people here, what game do you want to spectate out of these 4? We'll probably jump around a little bit between them. But what's the one you're most excited about? Is it Shadow Force A Markand? Is it Smiley versus Silver? Man in Yellow versus Catmad? Or Keen versus Lydian? Really, Potenzia. I think it's pretty sure it's Potenzia in client. Yep, Potenzia 2. With the old Jaws avatar. Or young Jaws avatar. I don't know. You kind of get where I'm going. Looks like everybody's getting their map bans. Looks like we already got Pyro Abyss is gone. Yeah, I can't imagine why Shadow Force selected Pyro Abyss. Is this pool... Pyro Abyss feels like you have to ban that against Shadow Force. I don't think you can let Shadow Force have that map because it's arguably a for freezy win. We'll have to see. We will have to see. All right, 1 minute until we officially get going. I can't imagine why Markand didn't ban Pyro Abyss. I'll bring up the bans when we go into the game. We'll probably start off with them just to see and then jump around. But yeah, after the performance yesterday, Shadow Force was just demolishing people on Pyro Abyss. Still got wins on other maps, of course, but not good. Not good. All right, we are officially in there, chat. We've officially started the round of 8 for Fright Night number 10. We're just going to wait for the UI to update here so that we can jump in and observe some games. Definitely want to take a look at, ideally, all of them. We are, of course, best 2 of 3 games, so we're going to get a whole lot of Phobies to examine among some very, very strong players. All right, we have our first game that we're jumping into. Potenzia here versus Lydian here on Transaction Declined. That is a bold move. A bold move here. So I'm taking a look to see what we have as far as bans go, as far as map bans go. Let's see. So they banned Dearly Departed, banned Coulrophobia, banned Pyro Abyss, and banned Phasmophobia. So they're choosing transaction declined here. And as mentioned earlier, we'll of course jump between games so that we can see all the different players, get them all on stream if we can help it. We're going to be playing top 4 out sequentially, but round of 8 is consecutive. We get a very unique opener, I guess. How often do you... Whoa, we're getting unique openers for both players. Now, Potenzi, as chat as pointing out, is somewhat of a Hydra enjoyer. We may actually see Hydra coming out here, notably banked to 4. Lydian here instead went 1 key into Sucky. The Sucky is very interesting. Now, personally, I'm not a huge fan of the idea of going AWOL here. If you're going to go Hydra, I feel like you'd rather have a sturdier 1 key, force your opponent to interact with the 1 key, like put a little bit more effort into trying to actually, contest your guys. But it is ultimately a 2-0 panic point advantage, and this Sucky, notably one of Sucky's features is it's kind of slow. It's a little slow, not going to be able to reclaim these panic points. You're going to have to expose, say, the cowbell. What? 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 Chat. What? Yeah, apparently it's Hydra Bane, and I think... I was about to say Potenzi is going in the tank a little bit, but it's actually Lydian who's thinking, actually bringing out Finnegan. Chat. We have a new map and some very bold strategies. Some very, very bold strategies. This is incredible. This is the Phobies game that we were waiting for. The ultimate counter, we will see. We will see. To be honest, when Maniello played Smiley, I legit thought about playing Rusty against him. I mean, I get it. Please spawn Firkin. What, to counter the Rusty? That might be a level beyond what is reasonable here. Like, that might be a bridge too far. Now, we are maxed out for our blue player. One more Phobie slot available for our orange player. I know everybody was excited to see A-Markin versus Shadow Force, but, I mean, look at this. Look at this. Like, come on. Get Snappy and Giggles in the Smiley match? Oh, we're going to have to jump around between these, chat. We might have to spend some time off stream looking at some of these other games. Well, not off stream, but off tournament cast, looking at some of these other games, because it absolutely looks bonkers based on what chat is saying. Please keep me updated, chat, on... I will definitely call out other cool plays that people are talking about. No range? Well, we do have a little bit, but not much. Not much. Notably, Finnegan can't even crush the toe. Womp wah. It's a womp womp moment. I love Rusty. It's Rusty. I can't believe Rusty actually showed up. The thing here, though, is does this Rusty really matter? Because this Hydra, rather, can still just walk up to the heart. It's going to take some rearranging, but Hydra can just walk up to the heart. Maniello seems like totally normal Funk Room match. I don't know what that means. As in, like, it's all mechs? Or what are we talking about here? I don't know what that means. I'm moving the mic a little bit, chat, so I apologize if there's ambient noise. I figured this way I can speak in my more normal volume. I feel like I was almost whispering before. But like I said, you're going to have to keep me honest with the audio. Foam angles with Cowbell and Electric Cat. Can you Firkin? Yes, you can hit Firkin on this because it is an ability. It is an activated ability. I've seen Muffin get Firk too. That has happened. Ooh, we get the Firkin. The Firkin. The Rusty! The Rusty! It happened, chat. It happened. I am blowing out the mic. We got him, chat. The Hydra got. The funny part is, like, the chomp is so appropriate because that's literally what just happened. The Hydra got. Chat, tell your friends, tell your family. We got some Phobies action going on, and there was a Rusty with a relevant hit. We'll see how relevant, but for now. The exposed jar, you hate to see it. Oh, maybe you'd love to see it? I don't know. Got back to the Smiley match, and now Silver K played Blondie and Fire Ant from Smiley. Ooh, that's bold. That's a bold move there, Cotton. Now, here's the thing. There's not a lot of pressure onto this Hydra. In fact, literally 0 damage has been taken by this Hydra. We're getting the jar standoff. I don't know how I feel about this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's really no way to threaten this, right? Because you can't get through here. Even if you boop here, you're not going to have the supplemental damage to kill the Murder Wing. I'm a little surprised Potenzia didn't sacrifice the Murder Wing to pop the jar, because the jar is going to soften up this Hydra. I don't know. I'm not sure, chat. Now we get the bow. The bow is in position. Hydra's still locked down. Meaning this Hydra's going to take a beating. Now, it's entirely possible for Potenzia to follow up with some sort of healer to keep this Hydra in the game and pressuring, but this is... You got Jar, you got Bow, we're now adding Thunder Rocks. This Hydra doesn't look like it's going to be an investment that pays off. Unless Potenzia already knows what the counterplay is here to try and go over the top of these other threats. Manning Yellow with a risky push. All these games sound awesome, chat. I don't want to tear away from this one. We'll wait for the conclusion to this one, but like all these games sound awesome. Which channel is that in, Nanda? Which channel is it in? All right, you have a little admin stuff going on. Sorry, just got to take care of something real quick, chat. I know, very exciting chat, but need to take care of this one real quick. This is kind of important. Yeah, it looks like that is the case. I see. Just if anybody sees that stuff, just ping me for where it is so I can remove it. All right, that should clean it up. That should clean it up. All right, now we're back to this. We are back. Hydra down. Yeah, I know. I missed all the action, but everybody could see it on there. This is the challenge of trying to run the event, manage the event, and everything else. So it's how it goes, unfortunately. So yeah, I think we have everything cleaned up at this stage. Back to the stream is right. Back to the stream is right. Shout out to everybody who's reporting that stuff for me so we can get that squared away. So you're going to have to fill me in, chat. I literally was not watching as I was trying to square their stuff away. You have to see the magnificent Blondie move in Silver K's match. We'll have to keep a running list of all these crazy plays that are happening. Just for safety's sake, everybody out there, make sure you got two-factor authentication enabled on all your accounts for everything. Don't reuse passwords. Don't give out information on the internet. These are just general safety thoughts on life. No particular reason. We're getting the dancing game. We got 0 keys to 3 keys remaining. We do have an attractor on the board, which leaves our blue player arguably an advantage, but a panic point disadvantage at this stage, and key disadvantage. Appropriately backing off our orange player, playing it defensively, you kind of have to give ground to the attractor to a degree, but there's an argument that your team is tanky enough that you don't really have to. However, our blue player has a lot of HP and can make the inexorable march forward. I don't know that I like the idea of leading with bow mangles. I understand the desire to get up in there, start doing things right away. However, obviously the Thunder Rocks can connect. The Sucky, I just really feel like was 2 wasted keys, and it's actually even more of a detriment at this point in time because ultimately you're tying up a Phobie slot. You need something to die to free up those 3 keys, and everything on your team is more important than Sucky. Given the corridor nature of transaction decline, only one of these melee Phobies is going to be able to connect with bow mangles. Looks like we're going for Jar. Yep. Going for the Jar pick. This likely results in a dead Spud and a dead Jar, but that means that this is going to annihilate this bow mangles. You can't kill all 3 of these. I don't think there's any way you have enough damage. Because remember, we're at all level 1s in Fright Night. Actually backing off, that's interesting. Electing to value, I don't know. This one's tough. This one's tough because if you don't, oh, you're going to run out of time. Oof, just barely got the play in. Triple panic point advantage. So Spud is going to die. Quite possibly Thunder Rocks dies. Although the Thunder Rocks has 1500 health, it might live. Thunder Rocks may tank all of this. And if it does, Tensi is in a really bad spot. The extra 3 key bank is pretty important. You don't really have much of a choice. I know our blue player would love to send the Murder Wing in to pick off the Jar, but you just don't have the option. All right, so presumably the big debate was whether to invest the meatball, which, yeah, you have to. Snowball is down. This is not a great spot for Lydian, even though you're putting a lot of pressure on the heart. Because now Stabby's going to reclaim this. If this doesn't die, which it doesn't look like it's going to, you can reclaim Ooh, we do get the pick on the jar, though. Snowball's going to get back up. This is going to be a tight game. This is going to be a tight game. Clearly, jar is going to eat it. I don't... I guess this is fine. You trade jar for jar. What is the follow-up here? Because remember, there are no keys left for our blue player, so it's coming down to the wire. Unicorn and 1 key, huh? Unicorn and 1 key. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I like the extra pressure. I'm not a huge fan of the Bachelor as the choice. It is a little bit of extra damage thanks to the dimensional, and that may be what the thought process is. I think I would rather have had... Yeah, I guess this works. This works because if you kill it, something's going to get displaced. So you can't just simply... Well, I guess you can. No matter what, something is going to get eaten alive here. Something from our blue player, because you kind of do need to reclaim this point. If not now, then very soon. This is only 720 damage, so not enough to kill the attractor, but certainly enough to kill this if it were exposed. It's not going to be, however. What did Rusty do in this battle? Was it something with the Hydra? Yep, it chomped onto the Hydra, slowed it down. Ultimately, the Hydra went down itself. I like this play from our orange player. Well, they're not going to do it. I like something that's more pressure-oriented, I guess. You have time, you have health to burn. There is a risk of being too passive here and then allowing Potenza to chip down your team and then push you into a position where you can't actually contest them. Sure, you're not going to kill the attractor, but they aren't... Like, are they... It's going to be 6,250... 12, 13... Actually, I think they have Exacxies to kill this. They have Exacxies to kill it. The Sucky, that is. Leaving the Sucky here means that it's going to get poked. I don't know. I kind of like the aggressive play. Because then you push into it, you threaten their attractor, you kill it the next turn. I don't believe that the Snowball was vulnerable to dying. Actually, yes, it was. It was at 500, right? Which means that it would have died to the follow-up Murder Wing attack. Okay, never mind. I thought it was going to live. Yeah, it's going to show up anywhere where that account was compromised. Master Dark. So, yeah. An admin's going to have to step in on those other servers. Potenza may have done this because due to the Unicorn being out of position, it was not able to pressure on this turn. I almost feel like the Snowball should have been here. Out of range of all of Potenza's options, but still in range to get in there so that you can kill something. As our orange player, you really need to kill one more phobie, and then you can kind of snowball it. Sounds like Man in Yellow's up 1 game against Catmad, so we missed the wild game 1, but we'll get into some other games as this one concludes. Bunching up here. Unfortunately, this Sucky is absolutely dead. There's certainly enough damage between these 3 phobies. The question is how much damage is the Unicorn going to take? How much damage is there to spare and spread around? We haven't heard any updates on Shadow Force A Markin or Smiley Silver. So we'll have to see how they're doing after this game. Down goes Sucky. We're getting the pot shots on here, but this is enough damage between the two in order to threaten, hence the repositioning here. Oh, you're running out of time here. All right, so this was mostly done, for anybody curious, I believe, in order to leech the maximum amount of health for this Murder Wing, as well as, of course, preserve the meatball, giving you the most options later on. Sounds like Smiley won game 1 against Silver. All right, so Murder Wing goes down. 1,400 health on this heart. It's getting scrappy, chat. It's super scrappy up in here. Normally, this would save it, but lol, 3 Ranger. Not like it particularly matters. This is coming down to Unicorn versus Stabby, because this is going to... Interesting. Oh, you're not going to have enough damage to kill this anyway. I thought it was 360 base damage. It's 320. 320, so not enough to kill this. Panic points flip. There's still a little bit of breathing room for our blue player if they end up having to back off here. It's the one mover bonanza, chat. I imagine we will see the Stabby kill this snowball. You can't suffer it to live. Repositioning from our orange player in order to try and claim this top panic point. Trap gaming on second man in yellow versus Catman on Fornacified. Interesting map choice there. Interesting map choice there. If I had to call this one early, I'd say our blue player has it, chat. Even if they get pulled out of position, they can come back up and claim this. It's going to be a difficult rearranging battle in order for our orange player to do this. No, maybe not. So this is 200 damage. This is now down to, what, 1,000? You move up, you hit it. Yeah, I think you do have to body block here. A. Markin took game 1 over Shadow Force. A. Markin took game 1 over Shadow Force. Whoa. Upset City, chat. Aren't you just dead? Yeah, that's not going to be enough. You have to walk away. You have to walk away. Your game plan here with Firkin Beauty Akira? Wait, what? A. Markin running Firkin Beauty Akira? Or are you saying those all just showed up in the game? 800 health remaining. This one's going to every game right now, chat, is bonkers. This, you're just dead, aren't you? I don't know if this was a gambit to be like, oh, well, maybe they'll take the panic point instead. But I think your only option was to run away and then hope, essentially. Like, you have to run with your one mover and outrun your opponent's one mover, which is easier said than done. But GG. This is the game we were just looking at, so we're just going to wait for the UI to reload chat, and then we'll jump into another game. I wonder if the Unicorn Trap was active or not when he took that top panic point. Well, obviously not if there was one placed. Well, they were moved to that point, so there wasn't one placed there. I think Lydia missed a couple trap placements with Corn that could have flipped the game at the end. Entirely possible. Entirely possible. There were a number of turns where it definitely felt like both players were just trying to, oh, I just need to get this advantage right now. And if you thought ahead just another half step, it might have looked different. So we're here at the beginning of Game 2 between A. Markand and Shadow Force. It sounds like A. Markand's up 1-0 in the series. So we're going to take a peek at Discord and see what's going on here. What do we get for bans? So, Shadow Force banned Coulrophobia and Locker Room Funk. A. Markand banned Dearly Departed and Transaction Decline. Shadow Force selected Pyro Abyss in Game 1, and A. Markand won on Shadow Force's map pick. So Shadow Force then selected Phasmophobia. And we'll see what happens on this map. We'll see what happens on this map. Bader, what's good? It would have been a tie if he did that because Unicorn would die to Stabby Dimensional Effect and Reflect. If he did what in the last game? I'm confused as to which turn you were referring to, Azarius. What happened so far? It's been eventful, Bader. Chat's going to have to catch up. It's been eventful. So we're getting some mobile openers, we'll say here. Both snowballs. I almost said unicorns for some reason. In my brain, I was saying unicorn, and then it just came out snowball, thankfully. But I was explaining the thought process anyway, so it's like I might as well have said unicorn incorrectly. It's one of those weird things, chat. I'm sure there's a word in psychology for that sort of misspeaking. Getting a fairly drawn-out turn 2 here from Shadow Force. Really going into the tank here, debating what they want to do for their next move. Jin Sting, the almost literally last-second pick. When we discussed this map on stream last week, and also last couple nights, this is kind of the opener that I would expect most player ones to do. Whether this is the appropriate play is another story, but we do get the snowballs cooking each other. We'll presumably get the retaliation here, unless Shadow Force intends to just retreat to the spa immediately. We get the preemptive Firkin from A. Markand. Always thinking, Firkin does kind of throw a wrench in the many plans of Shadow Force that we've seen up to this point, whether it's Boss Gonzo, it's Akira, or other activated abilities. Firkin has been showing up. Now, we saw yesterday a whole lot of people attempt the Honey Bear game plan to try and stave off the oppressiveness of Boss Gonzo. It didn't really work out, as evidenced by Shadow Force being our number 1 seed at 5-0 going into the top 8. But Shadow Force is 1 game away from being eliminated here. A. Markand on match point. We're getting the big debate here from our blue player once again. Being down that 1 game can suddenly, especially, remember, it was best of 1s in the Swiss round. It's best 2 of 3 in top 8. Shadow Force was 5-0 coming into this, having not a game lost, not a game dropped. And all of a sudden, you kind of get smacked in the mouth here. And it's like, welcome back to reality. Other people are allowed to win games too. And A. Markand maybe put the fear of Phobies into Shadow Force's heart. We'll see what happens here. We get, I was going to say Mario and Luigi, which it kind of is. It kind of is. You think that's a reference for Hematic Ginsting, Mario and Luigi? But we get Hematic Ginsting coming out, a big terror, often touted at many people's balancing tier lists, we'll say. Many people saying that it needs to be adjusted. Neither player at this point looking to bank any later. Instead, investing respectively into this Ginsting and into Hevo. A. Markand pushing out, stemming the bleeding here, but there is the ever-present threat of some heart pressure from our blue player, which we are going to see a little bit of right now. This is something that A. Markand's ultimately going to have to respect. You can't just ignore this pressure that happens here, and as we saw in some games this weekend alone, it's entirely possible for a player to just come down here and shove the heart, because it can be a little bit difficult to defend. Better than a number of other maps. For example, one of the other new maps, not Transaction Decline, the one with all of the, it kind of looks like Pyro Abyss, but with the push tiles. I forget the name of that map because it's new. That one we've seen a number of heart rushes because there is a stim next to the heart. Here on Phasmophobia, it tends, at least thus far, to seem to be more, we're going to apply some pressure, increase the clock, but not necessarily full hard commit to this sort of thing. Miss Moffat will do well here. We've seen a variety of polls, including Akira, on this map, put in a lot of work. However, Miss Firkin is looking to throw a wrench in all those plans, as I mentioned a moment ago. Now, we're getting the stabby response, getting the repositioning here from Hematic. This makes sense. Hematic preemptively cuts off some of the defenses, because if you want to reposition this Hevo, you now have to really be careful. Octonauty, very good here, too. I mean, any Yoink is going to be strong. Chat, show me a map where Yoinks are not strong. Prove it to me. You can't. It's impossible. Ooh, we're actually... This is pretty bold here. Is this not just a dead Hevo? 900 plus 1620? Not quite enough damage-wise here to kill this Hevo. Certainly enough to make it reconsider its life decisions. I mean, that's a lot of damage, but not enough to take it down. It's actually going to be just shy if you get 2 hits, 1 hit. Which means that this Hevo would probably have to full retreat, because if you do 1 hit and then leave, there isn't really enough here. Like, you could trade your Jin Sting as Shadow Force for the Hevo and probably be happy. This is a safer positioning. Of course, you're only going to take 1 hit from Hematic if it decides to commit. But the thing is, I don't know that A. Markand has enough damage here to really say, hey, Shadow Force, if you commit, I'm going to punish you. It's entirely possible that, well, it doesn't look like Shadow Force is going for it. I was going to say Shadow Force could commit on the Hevo, still represent some damage, and then just, what are you going to do about it? So presumably the big debate here, yep, is the positioning for the Jin Sting. We're now basically at full health Snowball, so that's going to come back into the fray. Similarly, also for A. Markand here. And we're just trading panic points back and forth, but our blue player does have access to multiple 1 keys. Sure, A. Markand can clear out the cat, hypothetically. Because remember, the hit here, hit from Hevo will kill the cat. If you do it double hit with the Stabby, it's entirely possible the Stabby dies. So I think the Stabby's going to hit once, reposition, and then require Shadow Force to do something else. Try and juggle their positioning, follow it up with something else to ensure that the dimensional pull doesn't ruin your day. Now, the problem is, in order to kill the cat, given this current positioning, you have to expose the Hevo, or, as mentioned, the Stabby. One of them is going to be in dire straits after this. Especially if it's the Hevo, because you're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits. That's a dead Hevo. So you might have to sacrifice the Stabby here. And the Stabby may dimensional pop on this. Or even just die to the fire. It's not what you want. The alternative, of course, which it seems like A. Markand is electing to do, is just not care. Just walk away. Allow Shadow Force to have the panic point advantage. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Phobies. If you lock your opponent into 7, you can drop a big nasty while they're not prepared. You can drop a big nasty while they're not prepared. Now, the problem here is I think A. Markand's positioning for this Akira is not great. You can't immediately Akira right now and say, hey, I'm going to blow up your board as soon as Akira's live. Remember, there's only a 1-turn warm-up. Don't ask me why, but there's only a 1-turn warm-up. Nope, it's Beauty. Now, we did see Beauty give Shadow Force a lot of trouble yesterday in the Swiss rounds. There was one player on this map who contested... Was it this map? Pretty sure it was this map. Yeah, it was this map. There was one player who gave Shadow Force a lot of trouble on this map with Beauty. Beauty was a big component of the offense that their opponent was able to mount. And A. Markand, maybe taking some notes there. It was Catmad. Shout out to Catmad, who is also one of our top 8 players. Right now going up against Man in Yellow, from what I understand, down game 1. We'll see if they're able to pull that one back. We'll see if they're able to pull that series back. But here, we're seeing the Beauty come out, and this obviously demands respect. Beauty comes down and says, "Witness me. Witness me." Now, down here, the Beauty is probably going to have to help respect the offense from Shadow Force. If these Phobies remain clustered, you can, of course, get the AoE hit from the regular attack. Maybe we can set up a Blom here, but there's no displacement from A Markant. The bigger threat here, though, even with 45, 55 left on the heart, because remember, you're starting at 8k, we're getting there down to the halfway mark. 4-to-1 panic point advantage. 4-to-1 panic point advantage. This is a lot of pressure on A Markant here. This is a lot of pressure. You'll have to forgive me slurping some water here. Got to stay hydrated for the whole event, chat. I even bought a larger water bottle so that makes sure I don't have to run up and down the stairs as often while we're trying to cast the event. Trying to be prepared, chat. So we'll see how A Markant responds here, because you don't want to just offer up your heart. You don't have enough. Ooh, you're going after the snowball. Interesting. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Get a little Blom action here to soften these up. This is all in prep, and these are the heads-up plays. You don't frequently want to... That's a little weird. Like, why... Oh, because this was on cooldown. I guess you could extend the cooldown. I get it. That's fine. I forgot bees. More bees was already used as to be differentiated from just bees. More bees. But this is often a play that we talk down about, where you look at these plays and you're like, well, you're not actually killing anything. But when you're talking about high-level games, at a certain point, players aren't going to expose something to just die. And if they do, it's probably a trap. It's like, sure, kill my whatever. I'm going to obliterate your forces afterwards. Instead, A Markant here is forced to chip some things down. With this amount of damage being applied on the southern point of this map, it allows for A Markant to then follow up the next turn. Shadow Force can't stay here, or their forces are going to get routed. There isn't enough damage, thanks to this body block, to actually take down this Beauty. You'll get 2 hits with Gin Sting, a Fireball, and then like 1 regular hit with Hematic. Not enough. It's not enough. But A Markant is under a bunch of heart pressure and is going to be forced to interact with the panic points probably next turn. If you don't, it's entirely possible you just lose, like on the spot. Of course, Snowball's going to die. We're going to get a trade out here. We'll see how this goes. Catmad's second match is undetermined results. Silver K doesn't seem to be in the best conditions. We'll see if Silver K can do it. Smiley is a tough opponent. Smiley, of course, in 4th place coming out of the Swiss. I believe they were X and 1. I'm like 99% sure they were X and 1, aka 4 and 1. Fairly certain that they were. I'd have to go look. And we already had a brief commentating delay. There is the big bad and this is timing. I don't know that I'd call it impeccable timing, but it was a great timing play from Shadow Force because A Markant elected to burn Firkin. A Markant elected to burn Firkin, and therefore the Akira is coming in untouched. Now, realistically, given the positioning, 1, 2, 3, 4, like, there was no world in which Shadow Force would have allowed it to get Firkin. This map is large enough that it's not going to... Like, you're not guaranteed to connect with it. It's not as though you're trying to beat Big She's Mildred on a small map, and it's like, yeah, I can Firkin you from anywhere. Here, it's not trivial, but fairly simple to try and avoid. Yeah, you're going to have to put the Firkin here if you want this to try and do what I think A Markant wants to do. The problem is that these are going to get yoinked into the pit. This Akira, and as I've said on many occasions, I'm of the opinion Akira needs a few different changes. We'll say that. Because this Hevo is just dead. This Akira yoinks right now. It's going to pull everything in. It's going to result in an immediately dead Hevo. That being said, that may not be Shadow Force's best play, simply because this Hevo is so beat up that it may be worth it to simply just kill it outright and then try and put pressure elsewhere. Now, we also get an addition of Cyclops, a phobie that often shows up in lower stress level games, but here it is a fairly tanky ranged phobie. It definitely makes sense in this context. 5 keys remaining for a Mark and 11 for Shadow Force. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 phobies. So there's going to be follow-up here. And remember, both Stabby and Cyclops are going to move that much closer to Shadow Force's vault, meaning it's something, like, I don't know, Hevo 3.0. I don't know if it's a... Ooh, wait. Thematic is going to croak due to the yoinks. Yeah, you gotta move the Hematic. All you gotta do is move it up. What is happening? I was struggling a little bit here to get everything positioned the way that Shadow Force wants it. A little bit of a struggle there. That's the drawback of Akira, quote unquote. Not happy with the way the board state. The animation for Akira can be so long that, I mean, I'm laughing about it, but it is kind of the drawback in arena games. No, you have to move the Hematic. You're going to run out of time. Shadow Force is legit going to run out of time. The Muffin for, of course, Stabby. I don't think Stabby's going to make it, so this Muffin really is for Akira. We're actually getting Motherload as the response. I think Shadow Force kind of ran out of time on that turn. That did not feel optimal at all. I mean, look at this. Is Blom is... Oh my god! Blom is up! Blom! Chat! Chat, no. Not like this. The Blom! Chat, the Blom! Oh, the double kill! Oh my god, chat. Chat, are you serious right now? You can't be serious. There's no way. Oh my god. All right, so A. Markin taking a different line here in order to optimize the plays. Oh my god. A. Markin. What a monster. What a monster. The follow-up Thunder Rocks, I'm not a huge fan. However, look at this board state. The Muffin Snipe. There ain't no baked goods in here. Get out of here. It's kind of like at a party, right, chat? The cupcakes are going to go. The cupcakes and the muffins, they're gone. Like, everybody's ball game. GG. GG, well played. Well played. Chat, that game was wild. We'll jump in here. If they're going on to Game 3, since we haven't gotten Smiley or Man in Yellow on stream, chat, let me know once they initiate those games. Yeah, a little big brain. Little big brain.
That is savage.
That was savage. Let me know, chat, when those other games start. We'll swap over because we haven't gotten those players on stream just yet. Want to try and bounce around if we can. Although this one looks like it's coming to a thrilling conclusion itself. What was this powered down from? There was a Minotaur? What is this game? That was the first game? No. A. Markin took that 2-0, Bader. A. Markin took that 2-0, from what I'm being told. All right, just got to record some results here. We got A. Markin 2-0 over Shadow Force as seen previously. Just waiting on the official results for everybody else. Yep, we got a little Barzilla action. Things you didn't expect to see when the tournament started. Rusty and Barzilla. Didn't see that one coming. Did not see that one coming. Getting a big invade here. Big dive. That is a lot of blue on the panic points, though. I just noticed that. Oh my god. How much damage is that? 1,600 damage, chat. This might be lethal because you're not going to kill all the phobies. Why am I craving pizza all of a sudden? I mean, I'm always craving pizza, chat. I'm always down for some pizza. Our orange player can absolutely reclaim some points here, but we'll have to see how many they can actually reclaim. This is going to be a very delicate situation, similar to Game 1 between these players. It came down to a very, very scrappy end of the game. Alright, that's 2 reclaims. But that's also still a lot of blue panic points and a Barzilla. I think we know how this is going to go. Oh no, Big Fat Boy is going to beat up the heart. I think you are correct. This is one of those scenarios where if I was playing, this turn would take much longer just because I have to, like, quadruple check the math to verify that I didn't mess something up. Oh, this Hematic Gin Sting was our blue players. I thought that was orange down here. Like, wasn't looking directly at it. GG. I think we have another match in the books. All right, let's take a look at Cat Mad here. Also, here on Mount Blight. Man in Yellow versus Cat Mad. We didn't look at what their bans were. Let me see here. See if we can find this. Cat Mad, Man in Yellow. All right, so the map bans were Dearly Departed, Phasmophobia, Pyro Abyss, and Biff's Room. So the first game was on Locker Room Funk. And then for Nazified. And then this is game 3. This is game 3 between these players. Let's see what they do. Let me just double check to make sure that I got some pings. I want to make sure that I'm not missing any results. Just triple checking. Akira, who could have seen that coming? Chat, we actually witnessed Akira lose. We witnessed Akira lose. How about them apples? For everyone out there that was worried, it is possible to beat the Akira. Gesundheit and, oh boy, that is a lot of quadrupods. Sure is a lot of them. So Shadow Force lost? Yes, Shadow Force is eliminated. Man in Yellow definitely knows that you should take that more seriously now that you can lose the match. I don't know if that Man in Yellow was taking it too casually. But yes, Capmad is a threat. Capmad is a threat, and now it's up for grabs for anybody. Here, chat, we'll have some fun. There you go, chat. Raucous. The Raucous. Bring in the Ruckus, trying to counteract both the yoinks here from Akira as well as Attractor. 15 keys remaining to 17. Now, Capmad's Attractor is out in the middle of nowhere. Out in the middle of nowhere. Getting a more aggressive push with this cat. Honestly, I kind of would like to see this unicorn take this point. With 900 health, it will die, but then it would expose potentially one of these. No, because this can probably go up here. This goes up here to poke. This slides up, and then you kill it with a jar or even just a murder wing in a combination of these. So maybe it's not worth it. We do get a boom. Man in Yellow clearly going to the school of Onda. Both players, of course, being very cautious. We actually get double sedimentary / stasis in order to try and protect these one movers. I mean, look at this wall. Look at this wall. The thing is I don't know that this is necessarily a bad yoinks play. The reason being is that if you yoink and pull everything closer to Akira from your team, that puts all three of these in range of all this stuff, and you can, of course, kill the Gesundheit. The challenge here is how do you yoinks without losing Akira in the process? You'd have to either do it from here or farther back, which would not be great. It's possible that there's a play here. We'll see how cautious Man in Yellow wants to be about this or whether they're going to be more aggressive. We're getting the yoinks right off the bat. Honestly, I think that's worth it. I don't know that I'd do this. The problem with moving Akira is that you're going to lose the Akira here, I think. However, there are some mean things that you're about to do to your opponent. I mean, boom here, obviously. You kill their Attractor. You can save your... Like, this, you might be safe. Now, you probably have to kill the Raucous as well, which you might get here. Bees? No, you get the yoink. And because the Raucous died, it pulls these. Oh, baby, that is a brutal play. Are you going to kill this, though? Yeah, you... Chat, that might be the game. That might be the game right on the spot. If you ever needed more evidence on why Akira is a lollipop, aka dum-dum. Akira is next level dum-dum. That boom, yeah. Yeah. Until I saw the final sequence of where everything landed, I was expecting the boom to go down here. and then try and clear up for the repeller, but obviously this was a better connection. Like, once we saw where everything landed, it made way more sense to go here. Akira could still die if you hit with these two for 4 attacks, and then you have 11 keys. You can certainly follow up with whatever. Ooh, a beauty. Now, here's the thing. Man in Yellow only has 5 keys left. You gotta put a jar, and then you boop. Like, you jar to here. Wait, what? You're not going to let this thing live, are you? Did you already? No, jar is still available. Like, am I missing something? Why wouldn't you do this? I can understand not using all the abilities. Droney? Yeah, I get wanting it to die to the lava, but I don't think... Maybe I had mentally jumped ahead that that wasn't going to happen. Alright, so this still looks fairly even. Panic point advantage orange player. We don't know how many traps are out on the board, so maybe this whole northern part is so trapped up that, like, it's a minefield. Jar seemed like the correct choice. I kind of get why they didn't. Because you could have, like, you still do the boop. You leave Boomer so that you boop with Repeller. And then you push... You use the jar to soften up, boop with Repeller, kill the Akira, and push the Jin Sting onto the lava just for some extra chip. Instead, we get an invade here. Now, Blom is still active. And this Blom can happen from back here, but it is not going to be lethal. You're not in... You'd have to expose the Repeller, and all of a sudden... Yeah, this doesn't look great. This doesn't look great. Doesn't seem good. Little Blulian action. Feels like insult to injury at this stage. I guess the thought process here, you needed to preserve the attractor. Totally fair, because if you're not killing either of these with a Blom, this is probably another viable target. Repeller, of course, is likely toast. I mean, you can move and boop, but this is going to kill it. In fact, it is a dead attractor. Blulian not powerful enough to save the day. 3 keys still remaining for Catmad, by the way. Little Crabula action with Clobster going to cut down the Repeller. I presume it's possible that Man in Yellow elects instead to try and preserve it. But this is still a full health beauty. Is this dead? Oh, almost. Already used Gesundheit, so are we going to see a microscopic? Does microscopic do 500 damage? Oh, Mike! Mike saving the day. Microscopic, the bane of the crustacean here. The bane of the crustacean. We're still getting the takedown here onto the Repeller. We're getting some splash damage. Well, not splash, but we're getting some damage going down onto Beauty here. Spreading out. Tenzia, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Klopster got caught not wearing a mask. You hate to see it. You hate to see it. You always hate to see it. You gotta be careful. You can't mess around with them germs. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Big panic point advantage, though, for our blue player. A lot of pressure going down our orange player, down to half their heart health. Almost full health for man in yellow, by the way. But this game certainly has given the impression that it's going to come down to Phobie fights, and definitely both players are swinging back and forth. Big old pendulum crashing back and forth, trying to determine who's going to win. It looks like man in yellow may have broken Cat Mad's tempo, though. The tempo may be broken in this particular scenario. Do have to be cognizant of the Boam play. But it looks like we might be getting another... Maybe we're not getting a spa. Ooh, we're getting some pressure going down on microscopic. This means that we're going to have... Wow, that lives... This is a dead Jin Sting. There's only 2 damage-dealing phobies remaining for Cat Mad, though. And there's just... I don't think you do this. They're at 3,200 health. I think you claim this. 1,200 damage is pretty good, though. I don't think there's enough stuff. There aren't enough things on Cat Mad's side of the board. This is still a strong play because you're body blocking here. You can't necessarily connect with the cassowary on where you want it to. Not like it really matters. You just need to kill stuff. But there's just too many phobies remaining for man in yellow. Valiantly played. Stick it in to the very end. But, yeah, I think that's all she wrote. I think that is all she wrote. GG. Another series in the books. Well played. Chat, some incredible games thus far. Incredible games thus far. Let's get all of the other results in. So we got Potenzia over Lydian. We have Smiley over Silver K. And then Man in Yellow taking down the series. All right. Sorry, chat. Just got to get this squared away. Is matching for top 8 randomized? No. It is a bracket system based on seeding. So Shadow Force plays A Markin because Shadow Force was the first highest ranked player after Swiss versus A Markin, who is the lowest ranked top 8 player after Swiss. Then from there, the second highest person, who is Man in Yellow, goes into the other part of the bracket. It's a reward-based system for performing better in Swiss, so that way you are technically playing the highest ranked person plays the weakest ranked person because they were higher ranked. Then the second highest ranked player plays the next lowest ranked player in the other end of the bracket. So hypothetically, the best players from each side of the bracket would meet in the finals. I ban Akira. Well, funny story. So while we're waiting, I am working on weekly events that are going to be much smaller in scale, like less players, smaller prizes, but a quicker event. And I am right now leaning towards doing Phobie bans, no map bans, but they are going to be blanket bans. I'm not going to get involved with players banning out people's collections and dragging things out. It's going to be a blanket ban before the event starts. And we'll see. Prize around 1,000 coffee, probably around 500, I think, because it's probably only going to be 8 players. And then top 4 would walk away with something, I think. I originally had pitched it to the devs as 16, but that might be too long of an event. It might be too long of an event. It might be okay doing 16, but we'll have to see. All right, so the 4 map bans are Mount Blight, Dearly Departed, Pyro Abyss, and Biff's Room. So we have our map bans. We'll see what the players decide to actually choose to play on, and then we'll see what they come out with. Walk away with shame. I mean, you can do that. That is an option, I guess. But yeah, I do want to try and get the weekly events up and running. There, of course, the structure could change over time. I think I want to start with a smaller scale, and then we'll work up. Maybe we'll have the small end, Fright Night being the big end, and then we'll try and find something in the middle, maybe as a third event series, maybe we move there anyway, to try and accommodate all different player groups. I would love to be able to, because a number of people have asked in the past and recently, including yesterday, to set up league events. So, you can only compete if you are if you're Strangers and below, or if you're Doomsday and below, or if you're Sum of All Fears 1 and below, something like that. I don't think we have enough people for that yet. All right, so players are still selecting a map, debating back and forth as to exactly what options they have. I would love to... I did have a bot for this sort of phase so we could track the stats easier. I can't really do it except by hand now. And doing it by hand just takes forever. But yeah, if you're interested in other events, other event types, by all means, let me know. I'm definitely open to feedback. Hit me up in Discord. Let me know what you think, because I would love to do some of this stuff. I'd love to help grow the community in this fashion, but I need to know what people want and what people are willing to show up for. It's kind of the important part. You got to actually be there and play to show that this is really... It's one thing to just say, hey, well, I want this kind of event, and then you never play in it. It's like, well, then why am I bothering to host that sort of event? You know what I mean? All right, so we have our map. It is Transaction Declined. Man in Yellow is going to go first. Let's see where we go. Just waiting for the players to kick it off. They're going to be sending out invites momentarily, and then we'll zone in for our semifinal match. Preemptively switch over so that way I don't start the game in the wrong scene, chat. Here we go, semifinals between Man in Yellow and Potenzia. As mentioned, there were a few different, obviously, 4 specifically maps banned out. This was Potenzia's map pick. Transaction Declined here. We got rid of Mount Blight, Dearly Departed, Pyro Abyss, and Biff's Room. Now, there was some debate between the players as to which map was going to get picked, and obviously ironing out their bans. But let's see what the players have in store here. We're seeing a 1-1 opener, which may herald the arrival of the Hydra. We have seen Hydra in an earlier game. It's kind of been the talk of the town on this map, and this is why I am of the opinion that Phobies maps drive the value, or should drive the value of certain strategies. Hydra, while it has kind of shot into prominence in recent months, thanks to a number of players, notably DT, I think was the first one that pointed it out to me, although Karst as well as others have been championing it as well. It shows up on a variety of different maps. However, it still wasn't quite a thing. It wasn't the go-to choice overall. But that may be changing. We'll see how this works. BT92, was that the first player with the Hydra plan? Forget Hydra. We got Snappy, chat. Coming in the update that was only, what, like not even a month ago at this point? Oh, we got this. No, we don't have the Snappy mirror. Never mind. Never mind. Just don't flip me over, please. I like turtles. I like turtles. Speaking of which, I got a bunch of new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles toys, chat. I've been talking about them a lot. Instead, we get the ever classic Innocuous. We get a dancing cowbell. Those reasons, I don't know. Epic name. Welcome. Welcome. It's a turtle. It is. Very jumpy turtle. He's a little nervous here. He's a little nervous just popping back in that shell. I do find it hilarious that he does not have teeth. Or, he has teeth. He doesn't have a head. This is a very interesting design where it's clearly supposed to be a turtle, right? But then the shell is the mouth. Like, it's a very interesting take. We do get the quick pick on the 1 key here. This is, I feel like Potenzi is tanking. As in, like, not intentionally tanking, but they're going in the tank here. And it does not feel great the way this is playing out. They're down 2 panic points. They're down the 1 key for freezies. I don't know about this positioning. We'll see what the follow-up is here. There's the potential for Man in Yellow to get very aggressive here. This is a super tanky phobie, meaning that you would have to focus down the murder wing. But we are getting the AWOL to body block here for the Innocuous. Is this enough damage? Yeah, this is much safer, albeit it is... There's also some suspect elements of this, because you're obviously down 2 panic points. It's a small map, so a lot of pressure can be put on your heart. You only start with 6K. Already down to 4,600. And you elect to go with Bow Mangles, which I appreciate the patience. I appreciate the patience moving up, contesting the opposing turrets. But we'll have to see whether Potenzi is falling behind too quickly. Is this enough damage? 450, 7, 8. This is a dead Innocuous. You'll lose the Murder Wing, but I take that trade, I think. Okay, get the body block. This will preserve it, because otherwise, this can just walk up, get a triple panic point advantage, and aside from that, you're just not going to dislodge it. It's too tanky. Now, that being said, there is still a triple panic point advantage. There's going to be a dead Boomer. So you just incinerated another 1 key. This does not feel great. It's tough to find a safe positioning for this because of the 3 range here, and obviously Bow Mangles just incinerates the Contortio. Contortio goes down, and then you can try and get a pick somewhere, but this is a lot of HP to chew through, these 2 phobies, especially with the healing nature of Snappy, thanks to being an undead. The very aggressive Stabby. I don't know about that one. That's a dead Innocuous now. There's no... Well, you have 5 keys, so you could put something very tanky here. Ooh, alright. Not quite enough to... Oh, this is a great play. That is a spectacular set of plays. I didn't think there was enough damage here initially, but there is. There is. Oh, no is right. Oh, no is right. I didn't like the aggressive Stabby, but I thought for a moment that there wasn't going to be enough damage. There, in fact, is, and suddenly... It's 5 phobies to 2, 9 keys to 10. Panic points still in favor of our blue player. Get the takedown here on Cassowary. Going to get the takedown here, presumably, onto the Innocuous. Yep. And because it's a flyer, it doesn't get moved by that tile into range. Now, the panic points are going to... Oh, I was going to say maybe this Bachelor goes up here, but it looks like the panic points are not going to flip just yet. Our orange player is still playing it very patiently. Murder Wing, huh? Interesting. Now, the Fireball is down, so there isn't too much threat to kill this Murder Wing. You know, you have Meatball, but you're only getting the somewhat pathetic attack of base Snowball, which is only going to yield 670, obviously not a takedown here. So we get a Tickles, a little bit tankier 1 key. This could die, but if it does, it's going to be while getting exposed. Or exposing one of these, because this is going to have to walk in. 6 keys to 6 keys. And here's the real debate. Is Snappy tanky enough to stay here? It isn't, but will it stay there is the question. Seems like our blue player is kind of testing the math here, although they may be going for the takedown on this Tickles. Tickles does die, but that kind of feels like bait. That kind of feels like bait, because this is enough for Xaxes onto the Snowball. So Snappy and Snowball probably die here, I think is the sequence. I don't think you can get the Murder Wing. Like, you could invest the effort to get these, but with the keys that are available, we have not seen a... we haven't seen a Jar come out of our orange player, so it's possible that a Jar just finishes this off. Nope, Jar's not going to be enough damage. I think you Meatball here and then attack plus Fireball onto here. What? There must have been an undo in here, because I'm confused as to, like, what this sequence is happening. Takedown here. Fireball here. I don't like that. I think what should have happened most likely is that you Fireball from, like, back here. That way, if your opponent comes after it, they have to reach and go for your Snowball, just extend a little bit further. This potentially allows for a safer reclaim. Like, it's going to be a triple panic point advantage here. That's why I think if the Snowball was on either of these spots, but ideally here. Like, if you're going to Fireball here, just do it from back here, and then your opponent has to overextend. They don't claim the panic point. They were always going to kill the Snowball. So just don't let them get the point simultaneously. Now, you can remove this fairly trivially, but I think you kind of need to put the Bow Mangles on the point this turn, or certainly something, which Man in Yellow is predicting and moving the Electricat into position. This is a rough spot for Potenzia because you're down pretty low on hard health, as you can see by the panic here. 1,200 health. You almost need to claim 2 points this turn. You might have to claim 2 points this turn. Droney is the choice. This is a bold move, Cotton. So the Jar is dead. The Jar is dead unless you put the cat right here. Yeah, I think there's a few different plays that Potenzia could have cleaned up here that I think would have complemented the more patient set of sequencing. I think ultimately we're looking at, I mean, this is how the game is supposed to work, right? One player makes more mistakes than the other player, therefore The player who makes less mistakes wins. Triple panic points once again, and I think that's the ball game. I think that is, in fact, the ball game. You can claim this back, but with only 400 health on the heart, GG. Game 1, man in yellow. Very interesting, chat. Very interesting. Yeah, well played by man in yellow. Like I said, I think that there were some plays that could have been changed by Potenzia in order to take that. And they were minor. It wasn't like, oh, you did this egregiously terrible thing and you sacrificed your whole team. That one turn where Potenzia just didn't completely wipe Man in Yellow's team, but certainly crippled it, looked like things were swinging heavily in favor of Potenzia, but it just didn't turn out that way. It didn't end that way. Players debating the various sequences in that game. We're just waiting for the second map selection. Yeah, definitely an interesting game. Definitely showcasing some interesting stuff on transaction decline. We didn't ultimately see the Hydra that I was predicting. Didn't see the Hydra that I was predicting, but we definitely got a very cool outcome with Snappy. Snappy, as mentioned, one of the newest Phobies. It's commonly a question, can you choose the same map twice? And no, it is part of the rules that you have to pick new maps each time. This is intended to ensure that we're getting a variety of maps and strategies and forcing the players to prove that they can win on different maps. Oh boy. You're in for a treat now, chat. We got a thing happening. We've got a thing happening. Oh, here we go. Just waiting for the game to start. I'm not going to spoil the surprise. I won't spoil it for you, chat, but yeah, there's some things happening. Just waiting for the UI to update. There we go. Game 2. Potenzia versus Man in Yellow in our semifinals. This was Potenzia's map choice. Ulrophobia. I don't know what the hell they're doing here. Like what? I'm not super sold on this one either, but this certainly makes more sense than Numbskull Cat. I'm literally scratching my head right now, chat. What is happening? All right, we get Numbskull Unicorn. I know there are some cool Ulrophobia enjoyers in chat. Let's hear it for them. Yeah, Man in Yellow kind of going with the standard opener here. It appears they want to go a 1-drop. Big debate here. I tend to lean towards not, because I like getting Innocuous online. I like the potential for a 3-ranger to really mix up the options here. We're actually getting Henrietta. No spas on this map. However, 180... This Tickles could have safely taken this spot. Like... Man in Yellow couldn't kill it. I mean, I guess you could put a snowball here? Yeah, I don't know about that castle repositioning. That don't know about that one. There is an argument, however, to leave the corn here. Because then if you put cassowary here, it can also connect, the combination of the two. Now, the cassowary probably dies on the follow-up because Bo Mangles will likely be lurking still. But definitely some debate. This map, based on the dialogue between the players during the pick and ban phase, felt it was out of desperation, exasperation almost. I didn't get the sense that we were seeing a very refined, hey, I've got my game plan, I know how to execute it sort of scenario from Potenzia. But instead, Man in Yellow not interested in the center panic point, instead continuing to push with the turret. Makes sense. Little creepy action, presumably to try and counter this cassowary. We're going to get the swing from Tickles back to the center, I assume, which means that Tickles gets eliminated, and then Henrietta can replace it. At least that's my expectation. We'll see if it bears out this way. With that sequence, it will delay the Bowmangle's arrival on the stem, which is why I'm not a huge fan of this Henrietta. Although it seems silly, but like the low base damage on this is salient because you want to actually eliminate the one key so that it can't sit there and recover panic points while it's poisoned and then eventually die off. If you add a higher, even if it's just Contortio, there's a potential that you nuke the Tickles and can continue advancing the Bowmangles. We're getting the microscopic defensively. This is a common response on this map in order to try and push away, shoo away the turret advancement. We also commonly see a very quick murder wing onto the stem because a single shot from a turret is, of course, not going to eliminate it. You get juiced shots coming back, soften it up, and then you follow it up with additional help. This stems the tide, but instead, Tickles goes down, Henrietta reclaims, and right now, Man in Yellow seems to be in a pretty commanding position, stem or not. This cassowary just feels very out of place, unfortunately. Cassowary, a very commonly used phobia, of course, and with good reason. However, here, it's just not... The surface area is weird. It's unlikely to get a leap and attack. It's probably just a move into a leap. And of course, just the dimensions, the angles of this map make everything much, much more challenging than you typically would see. Now here, we're getting a Ginsting to body block, essentially. We're also getting the microscopic on the stem, and we're getting a debate about cassowary. I don't think you want to leave it here. Like, it dies. It will die, and pretty much for freezies. Now, the microscopic here is somewhat safe. 850 health means that it's not dying to a single hit, and the combo here is going to be very difficult to achieve. Even if it did, it's still not lethal. Now, of course, the microscopic will trade with this creep, but if you're trading 2 keys for 3, you're probably content with that. Instead of the Ginsting, we're getting Innocuous from our blue player. Definitely makes sense. We are getting a lot of traps at this point. There's probably 2 on the board now. Presumably 1 on the point, maybe 1 here, maybe here. Like now, that it just feels as though our blue player is slowly hemorrhaging keys. Is this going to die? 250 times 4? Yeah, this will die to the poison unless there is something involved to preserve it. But what's most likely going to happen is that we'll maybe get a rearrangement. This Innocuous runs it down. I doubt Man in Yellow is going to expose the bow to a stemmed hit from this, but I guess it's not impossible. It's possible we see a Muffin come in, tank the lava, and then heal up the microscopic. You know, like if you put a Muffin here, there's nothing that can threaten it. Now, notably, this is something that I have not seen yet because it's from the new update. Tooth Fairy showing up on Coulrophobia. We just haven't played or seen enough games on Coulrophobia to see if Tooth Fairy is reasonable. It has less spike damage than Murder Wing. However, 650 damage at level 1 off the stem plus, well, it's not undead, so it's not healing, but you do have the threat of dimensional damage. Point is, it's another 2-move flyer to represent a threat in this scenario. Man in Yellow looks to be willing to play the patient game, the long game, allow this microscopic to expire, getting the rearranging here, not exposing the bow. Although I guess it kind of is. Or this, okay, if we need a 1 key here or something. Something has to go here, or this is a dead Innocuous. You'll trade the Cassowary, but like, yeah, this was expected. You have to body block here, otherwise this Innoculus is exposed. The Cassowary comes in, then the Innoculus collapses, and then all of a sudden you're at a big disadvantage. They have a 3-ranger and you don't. The late Gravedigger means a little bit more positional options. A few more positional options. We get a Maggie. That reeks of, I just want something else to do. But I don't know that I really like it. Ooh, we get the push from the horn? I don't like that. This is effectively out of the game, right? Nope, we're going to get a muffin. But we can't because you maxed out on phobies. Womp. Womp. That's a feels bad moment, man. You got to do this in the other order. Why are you sacrificing the corn here? Is the microscopic that much more important to you? I kind of get it because it's already in position. So as things inch up, but the problem is now that an Innoculus is leading the turret charge in the south, I don't think this microscopic ever does anything of value. You have to double move, in which case it dies. If you don't double move, you're on the lava, in which case it dies. This thing was not worth preserving, in my opinion. If you were going to preserve it, it needed to happen 2 turns ago. You get more value out of the muffin heal, but who cares? That's not the important part here. That's not the relevant thing in this scenario. Little tickles action. Of course, we know that there are traps somewhere. We don't know exactly where, but they do exist. They do exist. They're like M&M's, chat. I don't know how that comparison works, but sure. Oh, getting more pings in Discord. Not sure why. This is actually in the main Phobies Discord. It's pinging me. It's probably somebody asking about the event. So we, of course, do get the muffin. Not even a full heal on this microscopic. Yeah, this is not worth it. Yeah, I think Potenzi is finding out right now that, oops, it's just going to die. Even if the Innoculus couldn't take it down itself, there's a Maggie there that's going to be in range. If you put it here, it's still dead to the Innoculus. There's nothing you can do here other than play a more patient game, wait for this to come back. You break this block. No. Oh, okay, okay. Actually, this is still not great. So if Man in Yellow wants it, you can snipe this. The combination of Maggie and Innoculus kills this. There is a risk. This is 550, so it'd be 7. This actually isn't dead. I was going to say a jar. No, Snowball is still available. So Snowball plus Microscopic means that this is a dead Innoculus. And then this Innoculus... Yeah, Innoculus would have to be involved here. You go in and kill this. This and this come down and kill this. I think that trade still favors Man in Yellow. You'll end up exchanging a lot, but you're even on keys. You're ahead on board position as Man in Yellow. I think that's in your favor. Now, the safer play, of course, is to just stay here. I don't like this sequence. I think this yields a... Yeah, you break this. You'll lose the Gravedigger, but now you are up with the Innoculus. And now Microscopic is suddenly back in the game. Like, this was... What? I'm sorry, what? Why is there a brony? Like, is this a bronyable board? That's a weird verb. It's a really strange verb. I don't know. What do you think, Chad? Is this really a brony situation? You're running out of time, Potenzia. Going with a much safer option, I don't know that I like that either, but... You're bronyable? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. So we sacrifice Gravedigger and Cassowary for Innocuous, although there's going to be more sacrifice, because clearly this dies. The question is, because this will live, this is not enough to kill this. So if you kill the Maggie... No, you can get both, because this comes in, kills the Maggie. This moves over, hits this. I think you get both of these. Potenzia with 5 keys and should, emphasis on should, have like a massive board advantage after this. However, Man in Yellow has an open slot and 8 keys. In before Dozer, chat. It's not going to be Dozer, but it would be funny. We did see Dozer perform pretty well yesterday. I'm a little disappointed that it did Oh, come on. Come on. Not like this. Not like this. It didn't have to be this way. Would have been awesome, Barzilla. It didn't have to be this way, Man in Yellow. You were the chosen one. You weren't supposed to join them. Ultimately, this is a dead Innocuous. So the question is, what are you doing with your 5 keys to fight this boss? So the Innocuous will not die immediately. But there's going to be no heals. Because you can't invest in a Clinico and something else. And remember that the... Oh, we're getting the body block here. All right. I guess this is fine. This is fine. But remember, Man in Yellow doesn't have to you're fired. They don't have to do it. Honestly, it looked like Potenzia was pulling this back. And then this guy showed up. This guy, the absolute enemy of fun. Captain No Fun themselves. The boss man. Oh, by the way, remember Coulrophobia being that turret map? LOL boss on the stim, punching your heart. This guy's just dead, right? 2 hits, you're fired. And walk away. Lol. No, I think you have to, because you're going to lose to the panic point damage. You're at 3,200. You got to stem the bleeding. It's a tough spot to be in. It's a tough spot to be in. I can't really blame Potenzia for this. No. I think this is worse. I think this is worse. First of all, the Innocuous is dead if they want it. You just lose the game from this. I think the other... I guess it doesn't matter. I kind of think it doesn't matter because of this. Like, you can't react now. Because these two are out of the game, essentially. Womp womp. Boss. Boss, huh? Who knew that boss was good? Who knew that boss was powerful? Yeah. Yeah. GG. Match. Man in Yellow. All right, so we have our final set, chat. We have our finals set. I'll pull it up on screen as we get the players ready to go. We have our finals. A Markand versus Man in Yellow. I'm going to ping the players. We'll get things set up, and then we're going to jump in and see who is our winner for Fright Night number 10. So, chat, is this the finals you expected? Is this what you were thinking was going to happen? Because this is pretty exciting. I'm not going to lie. I think a lot of people were in on Shadow Force taking the series down. A lot of people were expecting Shadow Force to be yet again back-to-back champion. Not to be. We're going to have a new champion in Fright Night number 10. We're going to have a new champion, and we will see who it's going to be, A Markand or Man in Yellow. A series long in the making, I guess. So we're getting right into it with the players. I'll repeat this as we get in, but A Markand has banned Dearly Departed and Transaction Declined, immediately hating on 2 of the new maps. 2 of the new maps removed. There is still Phasmophobia available. So we'll have to see what Man in Yellow chooses to ban here. Pyro Abyss and Biff's Room. Making some notes, chat, as we're going through. So we'll see what map is actually chosen. We do still have Phasmophobia in the rotation out of the new maps. It's actually been played on a number of times. All 3 of the new maps that are in the current pool have been played on. In fact, I think the only map that has not been played on, that I'm aware of, is Biff's Room. We know that Locker Room Funk was played for Nassified. Obviously, we saw Coolrophobia. Transaction Decline was on stream. Dearly Departed was utilized yesterday. Phasmophobia getting played today. And, of course, Mount Blight and Pyro Abyss during the Swiss rounds. Just waiting for the players to get things rolling. Looks like A Markand's making their pick now. It's definitely an exciting event. We saw a variety of phobies. We saw the bog standard phobies, namely Boss. We'll see what happens here. A Markand choosing to go to Mount Blight. Game 1 of the finals is set, chat. Game 1 of the finals is set. Man in Yellow going first. Good luck, have fun, everybody. I don't understand why people aren't liking Dearly Departed. It's one of my favorite new maps. It may not be that they don't like it. It just may not be they are prepared to play on it. It just may not, like if you don't have a strategy in mind, maybe you just don't want to risk it. I mean, this last game this last match, of course, is for all the marbles. Irk, what's good? Here we are, the finals between Man in Yellow and A Markand. This was A Markand's map pick, Man in Yellow choosing to go first. Let's see how this plays out. We'll take a peek at the bans one more time. A Markand banned Dearly Departed and Transaction Decline, 2 of the 3 new maps from the most recent patch that are in this rotation. Whereas Man in Yellow chose to ban Pyro Abyss and Biff's Room. A lot of players have been banning Biff's Room. Not a huge fan of the perennial powerhouse from that map. We're getting fairly standard openers out of both players, neither one wanting to deviate from what works. And understandably, this is the finals. This is the big show. And we're getting a lot of predictions from chat. A lot of people are in A Markand's corner. Although there are a few holdouts, a few stalwarts pulling for Man in Yellow. Chat, I'm excited. This has been a great event, been a lot of fun. We saw a number of really cool things through the Swiss rounds and through these playoffs. This is, in fact, game 1 of the finals. You're just in time, Irk. You just made it in time for the finals. But yeah, these players are playing it fairly standard on Mount Blight. This map was played a couple of times here in the top 8 and definitely a few times in the Swiss rounds. As mentioned, Biff's Room wasn't too popular. The new maps from the patch were chosen a number of times. They did show up a decent amount. So it's pretty exciting that already they're making an impact. And not just the maps, but we saw a number of new phobies from the latest and greatest patch make a big impact. In fact, Snappy, for example, carried one of our players that's here in the finals. Maybe not carried, but it definitely made its presence felt. We'll put it that way. Now we're getting ye old quadrupods from technically the first patch, technically the second patch of the game, certainly the first expansion patch, and that is Innocuous and Repeller. We'll have to see how these three rangers do. I am partial to this strategy on this map. You can definitely put in an enormous amount of work with these phobies and really pummel someone, really shell them from a distance. Clearly, you got the range. Cassowary repositioning, like I said, the initial opener of 1-2-1 is pretty common for player 1. The response here with Gin Sting 1-1, also fairly common. Of course, Man in Yellow able to get a quick pot shot with the leap. We'll see how this plays out, chat. I'm not sure what to expect. I believe A. Markin does, in fact, have access to Akira. I don't believe that Man in Yellow does. I do not know if either player has Boss, and I'm fairly certain Man in Yellow confirmed that they do not have Gonzo. So chat, as mentioned before, you'll have to keep me honest as far as the audio goes. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I'm not blowing out the audio and I'm not disappearing. Had to change the setup a little bit because I was losing my voice coming into the event, and that's not really what you want when you're doing something like this. So had to change things around a little bit. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully the audio isn't atrocious when this goes up on YouTube, because it's a little late for me to do anything about it by then. Man in Yellow had Boss. All right. Yes, we did actually see Boss in the last game. Short-term memory, chat. Get a little boom action coming in. I'm not a big fan of boom unless you're going into Akira shenanigans. But it does allow Man in Yellow to bank to 8. I wouldn't be surprised if that is, in fact, for Boss. But we're getting Firkin, which A. Markin has leaned into successfully in earlier rounds, specifically against Shadow Force. The Firkin allowed A. Markin to turn off, or at least threaten to turn off, a number of Shadow Force's phobies, and thereby elongated the game. Gave more opportunity so you aren't just immediately blown out by Gonzo Boss or Akira or Gonzo Boss Akira or whatever. So the Firkin here has a couple or a few targets. Nothing all that promising, but when your opponent's banking to 8, you have to assume that something terrible is about to happen to you, right? Now, we do see some aggression from Man in Yellow. The initial incursion into A. Markin's territory, claiming this panic point, but with multiple 1 keys on both players' sides, this is really just to try and whittle them down. Man in Yellow, of course, has 3 1 keys, including the boom, to A. Markin's 2, at least as far as what's on the board, meaning that Man in Yellow will end up winning that exchange over the long term until something changes the calculus. We get the counter Firkin, which is interesting. A. Markin with only 6 keys. It's not unexpected to see either, well, more activated abilities, or this is Man in Yellow saying, I'm going to Firkin your Firkin in order to allow for my big nasties to be big and nasty. Because now A. Markin's going to have to count for not just trying to connect with the Akira, the Boss, the whatever. You also have to dodge Man in Yellow's Firkin. So as Man in Yellow, you kind of just staple your Firkin onto whatever your big threat is and then say, yep, stop me. Yeah, you can't quite advance this Firkin. That's going to result in some problems there because you'll get the quick pokes here. And there isn't really enough of a threat of damage from everything else in order to really make Man in Yellow care. Ooh, we get the Man in Yellow Firkin onto Repeller. I get it. I get it. Like, this makes sense. I don't know that I necessarily agree with it. I also don't really agree with this invade, because you're going to trade your Cassowary for their Cowbell. That seems bad. Certainly less than desirable, because that Repeller does have the range to sneak around this obstacle, claim this point, or claim this spot in the name of A. Markin. Additionally, of course, you can get support with 10 keys coming out of the vault. We're nowhere near maxed. Well, we're kind of near maxed. It's 5 out of 7. That would qualify as near maxed, right, chat? I think I need to set up my spit guard if I'm going to keep the mic in this position, so that way, you know, like the pop guard. Man in yellow does, in fact, have Akira. Does, in fact, have Akira, chat. How did Shadow Force go down? You're going to have to watch the replay of this cast. This will go up on YouTube hopefully by the end of the week. It's all going to depend on how quickly I can edit things, because, of course, we have viewer game breakdowns tonight. Chat, we're going to have an Akira off. It is, in fact, an Akira off. Yeah. We saw Man in Yellow use Akira on this map earlier today. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. I'm in casting mode, chat. Short-term memory. We did see that brutal play. Here's the thing. I do remember those plays happening. I just don't necessarily remember the players that were involved at the time. Like, that's the part that I always struggle to recall. Markin playing it super defensive here. And understandably so. I was about to say, I don't hate the Akira showing up here. This is going to get weird. Oh, it's going to get real weird real fast. I don't see a way right now for Man in Yellow to beat up the Akira. Like, you could Akira Markin's Akira and then Firkin it. But is that good enough? Because you're not necessarily going to get much more of an advantage out of it. And you're potentially exposing your team in the interim. Yeah, I don't like moving Akira closer to your opponent's Firkin. Raucous would be beneficial here with some obstacles they can work with. Funny story, Boomer and Raucous showed up against Akira on this map an hour and a half ago. Maybe 2 hours ago. It did not go well. You'll love to see it, chat. Get a little glob action going on. Glob Akira. Name a more iconic duo. And don't say Kaboom Akira. Oh, no. It may have been better for Man in Yellow to just Akira first and then power this off. So this can move up, turn this off. Cat claims the point. Jinsting comes down. This gets some free hits and boops. Oh, going after the Innocuous. Okay. You can boop here. Like, hit boop this. Yeah, that wasn't looking fantastic. I didn't feel great about that exchange. It didn't look bad, but I think you did need to counter this Akira, otherwise you get Akira'd into oblivion on the follow-up. I do like Stabby as a response to the Akiras. It's tanky enough. Obviously, ironically, the yoink forward helps you because of the one movement. It also prevents your Akira from getting just wrecked here. However, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, this is still on cooldown. Never mind. I was going to say you could just Firkin Markin's Akira, but you can't because you burned it early on the repeller, which I didn't like that play at the time. The glob is cute. However, despite it being able to get boosted by the Akira, you do run into the issue of, hey, they can just repeller it. Granted, it'll still do 1,000 damage to whatever it globbed up, but it may not necessarily kill whatever said thing is. It's most likely to connect with the stabby right now, hypothetically. Because, like, you could move here, Akira, walk up, glob. And if you put the cassowary here, then they can't necessarily... Yeah, that's probably not good. Plus, this comes down... Yeah, like, that's not a good sequence. This is... We're going to get a lot of staring at each other, chat, and both players are going to wait until, like, the last 5 seconds of their turn and go, oh, no, I should have... But there's not enough time. Because this is now super challenging territory of figuring out exactly how do you set up these yoinks? What is the play here? And this, as we had a long discussion yesterday, technically balanced. Because balance is not the major concern. Like, you could say this is balanced. Both players have Akiras, both players have Firkins, both players have access to Glob, and a lot of other things. It being balanced isn't necessarily the problem, or lack of balance. Powering down the Akira. You gotta wait if you want to kill the... no, you can... You still have bees. Oh, no, you use bees. The Innocuous lives despite that. How frustrating is that? Is this enough damage? 200? No, the jar does more. I think the Firkin onto the Akira is fine. Yeah, you boop everything back. And then this is just chip damage, and it allows you to reposition. Now that Man in Yellow's Akira is going to be on cooldown, you might be in good shape. Although you did burn your Akira to set all this up. So you're just kind of delaying the inevitable. Oh, wow, you had to undo that much. That's a scary end of turn. That's a scary end of turn. Trying to watch the audio levels here as I'm like randomly exploding into the red. This might be a dead Firkin. This would be a good pick, if possible, assuming that the Akira doesn't die, which I don't think it will, given the body blocks that are available here. Now, there are 12 keys available for a Markand and plenty of room if the Firkin were to die. It would be a great pick, but I don't think it's safe. Markand playing it pretty well. Both players are. There are mistakes, of course, but I don't think there's anything super egregious. Obviously, both on cooldown. We will get Man in Yellow's Firkin back online soon, so most likely Man in Yellow is going to get the next yoinks. Because it's going to be some time, and the panic point advantage is in favor of Man in Yellow, although big map, a lot of hard health. Now it's getting evened up. Like, there's not an enormous amount of pressure going on here. Seven Phobies to 6. Only 5 keys left for Man in Yellow. That's also notable. There aren't going to be many more reinforcements. You kind of have to do it with what you have on the board. The Glob, honestly, it's not feeling great right now, in my opinion. I think this is going to be very challenging to get it to connect with anything for value. It's possible you could maybe get it onto this Firkin. assuming yoinks, and then, that would be useful. It's an even key trade, but eliminating the Firkin is a big deal. And then, of course, the dimensional displacement, possibly messing with A-Markand afterwards. Eating one of the traps there. Yeah, traps on panic points. Nah. Is this a dead Firkin? Yeah, I think it is. Is this a bait from A-Markand? 475? This is dead. Is that a dead Hematic in response, though? Quite possibly. Alright, taking the cat takedown just to try and decide, I guess. You gotta do this in the other sequence. No, you don't want to kill it with this. I don't know about that one. I think this is worse. So Akira is going to splash through Cassowary to kill the Innocuous. This will then... This is 400. So Akira kills these two. This beats this up. Yeah, I think all three of these die. This might be a throw. Yeah, I think this was a miscalculation on Man in Yellow's part. Admittedly, this is a very complex board state that very quickly is going to get messy. But, like... This is 1100 health. I don't know that you even need the muffin. Oh, you're doing this to make sure that they can't Akira it to death. It's still dead if Man in Yellow commits with the Firkin, but I don't think they will. Yeah, this should be ball game. 5 keys remaining for both players, but just way better stuff on A-Markand's side. Hilariously enough, the Stabby will tank the Glob. It's only 1,000 damage, so it requires an Akira hit, which means that either Akira or Glob is going to take the dimensional damage, but either way... Actually, it's going to be Glob guaranteed. It's going to be Glob guaranteed, and the Glob is just going to die. I think A-Markand has this one. In the Akira mirror... Alright, so this is a better play, because you'll kill all of these with the Akira. And then you get in there with the Glob. Who are you going to Glob? I would presume... Yeah, I guess. But now you have a 900 health Akira, a 600 health Firkin, and a Unicorn, plus 5 keys versus this and 2 more keys. Admittedly, the Repeller is dead, and your opponent has to respect the Glob, but that's going to be trivial to remove at this stage. It's not going to require a whole lot of effort. Yoinks is 1,000 years from activating for Man in Yellow. There is a Yoinks soon to be available for A-Markand. Now, here's one thing that is in favor of Man in Yellow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 panic points to 2. There's a world where Man in Yellow can just sprint around the map and maintain panic points and then maybe pressure. We did see that happen in other games. That seems to be the game plan here by splitting it up and bringing multiple Phobies out as opposed to bringing out a singular 1 key. This means that you're able to occupy multiple panic points. Why creep? There's so many healing spas and no undeads. I don't think there's time for A-Markand to go heal. If you pull a Phobie back, and we're assuming again that Man in Yellow is going for this aggressive heart push / panic point game plan, I don't know that there's enough time. That being said, these Phobies are just dead, right? No keys for heal. We did already see Muffin. But there are spas. The creep represents some potential range damage. Cassowary did already eat it earlier in the game. You could, I guess, like go Maggie for mobility or something. You're not going to go Gesundheit or something because it's too slow. It's a 2-mover that has a ranged attack. However, in this case, these 4 phobies are going to have to try and do it. They got to try and claim the remaining 3,600 health on A. Markin's heart, and that just doesn't seem very likely now that the panic points are even. Even AWOL here getting in the mix. Final phobie for A. Markin, taking down the Glob. You can actually claim a bunch of panic points here, so you kill this. Send in Creep. Or I guess you could send Tickles. Like, send Creep here. Send Tickles here. Send Canine here. And then all of a sudden that's 1,600 damage? Or no, it's not 1,600. It's 1,400, right? Slightly different setup, but this does allow for Canine to threaten the heart. A. Markin now has to claim points and defend heart. With a very spread out team, but, oh yeah, yoinks. Womp wah. All of that planning, all of that meticulous effort, all to be thwarted. 2,400 health. 2,400 health. It's close. But I don't think that it's getting there. Five to 3. 2 phobies remaining. There's no way you're dislodging any of these phobies. You just have to hope that these 2 are enough to, in fact, kill the heart. I'm gonna go with no. That's my prediction, chat. Bold one at that, I'm sure. Honestly, I don't think you send Tickles there. I think you let Tickles back cap a point, but I don't think it matters. I don't know that it matters. Now, admittedly, only Akira and Tickles are in range to actually hit the heart, so this is going to have to probably go to this panic point. AWOL goes here. 1 dog against the world. I do like, well, this is a body block here, so that there's only 1 phobie that can actually hit the heart. This is why I was thinking Tickles should hang out back here, because imagine that Tickles could represent claiming either of these points right now. It still wouldn't matter because it would only be an extra 200 damage, but it would make A. Markin sweat a little bit more. In the Battle of the Akiras, chat. Battle of the Akiras, A. Markin takes down game number 1. GG. We're on to game 2 of finals. Let's see what we got. Very close game, chat. Very close game. Almost made the push there. Almost made that push happen. Couldn't quite do it. Is Akira fun in your opinion? Yes. It's fun to use. It's not fun to play against. Every phobie is fun. But from the developer's perspective, you need to balance who is having fun. To a degree, fun is a zero-sum game, especially when you're talking about competitive games, right? If one player is having a huge amount of fun, the other player is having 0 fun, there might be an issue. Are there any other 2-move melee that has more damage? Cassowary. but Cassowary was already dead. These do not have... Oh, these actually have more damage. Possibly. Yeah, they definitely do. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe the Jackalopes. Eternal Night, but Eternal Night would have died very quickly. The thing is, the Jackalopes, assuming they had... I'd have to go look, but like, it's possible the Jackalopes would be tanky enough because you need the extra phobia to go step on them. So like, if it took 2 hits and you had to move into range to hit it, maybe you don't kill it. You know what I mean? Wiggy, but it doesn't have as much health. A K9 was probably the best option there. K9 was probably the best option there. Somebody would have to go check the Jackalopes. I know the Pop Guard is over here somewhere in the closet next to me, chat, but I don't see it. Plus, I'd have to figure out how to rig it up without, like, destroying the setup here. I don't know how the audio's been. Hopefully, it's been bearable for everyone. Since this is a different setup, and like I said, I've not been feeling great. All right, we have our map. Game 2. See if it's a sweep or not. Here we are, chat. Game 2 of the finals. Man in Yellow, A Mark. And this is Man in Yellow's map pick after being down 1-0. So we're on match point for A Mark, and we may find out who our champion is after this game. Or is Man in Yellow going to bring it back for the 3rd game? We're getting pretty similar openers to what we have observed in the past. Time zones is the hardest part of tournaments. You may be correct, ET. You may be correct. Understanding the sign-up system and everything that goes with it might be the hardest part. Yeah, that does seem to come up. It comes up every once in a while. Get a little Tooth Fairy action. We have seen this phobie also making a splash. I'm very curious, is this supposed to imply bad breath from Tooth Fairy? Is this spit? I don't know, but either way, it's gross. Disgusting, even. So this is playing out a little bit differently than what we've observed earlier. Slight variations, obviously. Tooth Fairy, instead of when we saw Shadow Force earlier, go with Gin Sting. You think it's saliva? It could be. It's definitely disgusting either way. It's definitely disgusting either way. My nose is itchy, chat. I'm hungry. Skipping lunch, powering through so that we can bring to you the hottest and freshest Phobies action here in Fright Night number 10. You think it's a dark aura like near its wings? I mean, you can see it in the wings in-game, but you cannot see it on the card. But that is a fair observation. Evo 2.0, we actually have not seen this phobie all that much in this particular event, or at least I didn't see it in the games I was observing. We'll see how the players continue from here. This may be... Nah, this is not a dead cat. I was going to say you could collapse on it, but then you'd end up losing way more. This position looks pretty strong for Man in Yellow. We're going to get the retreat from A Markand here. Claiming this top panic point, this is pretty safe. There's only 5 keys available for Man in Yellow. There aren't too many threats that can pop out. Of course, you can get Murder Wing, you can get Jar, but Snowball all the way down here in the south. And then, of course, there aren't really any 2 keys that can reach this. Maybe a Droney. It's a combination of this, Droney, Murder Wing. Probably not doing 1,300 damage. Instead, Stabby advancing to cover this panic point, trying to stem the bleeding. 2-2 right now. Not bad. Not bad. That's the biggest thing for this map is, and everybody at home take notes, we have talked about this on stream. This is a rough map for Player 2, at least what we've seen thus far, but it is not unwinnable by any stretch of the imagination. I just noticed that Tooth Fairy retracts the teeth in its idle animation. Like, watch the teeth on the outside. They actually, some of them fall out too. Tooth decay, gingivitis. Brush your teeth, chat. Make sure you brush your teeth. It's important. Oral hygiene is very important. Not trolling. It's like drinking water. You got to do these things. Sucky? I don't know about that one. I don't know. Stabby getting in position, not really under threat from anything. I mean, obviously, this is here. This can get some pot shots. This could be a little aggressive from A. Markand. The Stabby's probably going to have to retreat, and it's going to be very damaged, but I don't know that Man in Yellow will follow up damage on the Stabby by continuing an invade. There's certainly not enough damage right now to kill the Stabby. I'm not sure what the Contortio is for other than future turns. Obviously, with a Razormouth on the board, you need something to try and trade places. Just exchange control of panic points. This Sucky might come in, and the Contortio is deterring the Sucky to a degree, because it could come in and leap on one of these. You could actually pick the Contortio. You could do it with a jar in this. No, you can't. It'll actually tank it. That's a little unfortunate. So we're just going to take the singular hit onto the Stabby. The Tooth Fairy is guarding this bottom panic point. And we do, in fact, see the big boss man. Boss making its appearance. Last game, we had an Akira off. Will we see the boss face off? 9 keys available for A. Markand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Phobies. There is another option, another slot. A decent amount of damage on the board. So an Akira here, as we saw in the last game, definitely available for both players. Not an unreasonable play. Panic point advantage for for A. Markand temporarily, but Man in Yellow will quickly pull that back with the cat, and then we'll probably go back to A. Markand, depending on how each player decides to supplement their pushes. Now, this will 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, never mind. I was going to say Man in Yellow is maxed out, so we would favor A. Markand, or favor Man in Yellow, rather, to free up the spots. That isn't the case. Instead, we see Beauty, which A. Markand has used successfully on this map before. Going back to the well, will the Blom overpower You're Fired? We're going to find out. What is the name of it? Behold. Witness me. Now A. Markand is maxed out. Does Man in Yellow have the answer for this Beauty? It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. There's a lot of ways that Beauty can suddenly make your positioning very uncomfortable thanks to that Blom being map wide. For example, here, you could get a Blom right now onto the Sucky. Not like that particularly matters, but it could. And it's also pretty safe. It's also a pretty safe Blom because you have to commit pretty hard as Man in Yellow in order to try and dive that Beauty. So notably, Man in Yellow electing to just take the free panic point flip. Cat goes down. Going to get Contortio coming in. Presumably this cat will reposition so that way it can threaten one of these other points, possibly. No Gonzo at all. It is true. No Gonzo yet. There's still time. There's still time. Cat able to take this point aggressively. Now it's a 4-1 panic point advantage, and Man in Yellow, with their 10 keys available, is going to be forced to try and get in the game. You got to push out, got to make something happen. Even though you are still at 7,400 health, a 4-1 panic point advantage will chip away at that life total fairly quickly. You can't give it too many turns. Plus, by killing one of these Phobies, you're going to free up slots for A. Markand to supplement their forces reinforced with more powerful Phobies. And in fact, A. Markand does have a 1-key lead, 15 to 16. There it is, chat. You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming, and it's even scarier thanks to that guy. That guy's kind of a big deal, or so I've heard. Now, interestingly enough, Man in Yellow does make what I think is probably the appropriate play, chooses to not kill any of A. Markin's phobies, locking them in, unable to supplement with additional threatening phobies. You're trapped with these, well, mostly damaged cat and Contortio. A. Markin doing the correct thing, sending in the cat, getting some chip damage, even though it's minor damage. The cat's going to die anyway. You need to free up your keys, and you also need to, not end up in a terrible position. So you pull back so that way you don't get yoinked into oblivion. The beauty is going to be weird here. Because it's a flyer, it could hypothetically become exposed by ending up on one of these tiles. But A. Markin's actually going to preserve the Contortio. You could have sent it in to poke at the boss. You don't want to go after Sucky because it's just going to life leech, so who cares? But we have to get the very defensive position, and here's where we get into the real silly part of Phobies games that involve Akira. Your opponent just backs all the way up against the wall. Almost literally, they're back against the wall. Akira just repositioning entirely. From here, it's exposed to 3 phobies. Not enough to kill it. Even with 4, I don't think it would have been enough. Because it would have been 1, 2, 3. Or 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess it's... Nah, I don't think it's enough. 7 and 5 is 12. Actually, it would have been enough. This could have been a dead Akira with an invade. This feels like bait. It's kind of saying, please, Blom, because then I will live and yoinks your team. I will have 2 ways to punish clumped phobies, 3 ways to punish clumped phobies. This boss could die. 1,500 health. No. I don't think it's dead. Because it's 500 here, another 350, plus another 420. It's certainly going to be beat up. But not quite enough to do it, and then you're going to have these 3 clumped in a weird way. You're going to get punished real hard. People really don't like Rockets against Akira. We saw it fail earlier, and fail somewhat spectacularly. I think the sedimentary / stasis plan will be more successful in the future when we inevitably get more phobies with that ability. But for now, I don't think there are enough phobies with that power to realistically punish Akira. Or not even punish, but just interfere with Akira. There's just not enough. It can definitely play into things. I just don't think it's providing enough value. I don't know if that boop is worth it. Give Cerberus stasis. No, you give Cerberus thick, so it can't be moved. Thick with 2 C's. Do it for Cerberus and do it for Dozer. Give Dozer thick. That would be awesome. Man in Yellow just absolutely refusing to kill any phobies. This almost was like a wild Blom setup here. I thought it was Yoink's time. It wouldn't have been a Blom setup because this was obstructing, but still. This is a very patient Yoinks. That would unironically make Dozer very useful. It might. He's just a big, dumb wall at that point. He is a big-ass shield. Blom! Alright, we get the Blom. We see the teeth falling off. Wow, that's a dead Tooth Fairy. Just sniped. Man in Yellow really banking on... Honestly, I don't know that you want to kill this Sucky. I don't know that you want to kill this Sucky. Yeah, I really think you don't want to kill this Sucky. This does not look great for Man in Yellow right now. Okay, so the reason you don't want to kill... Oh, no, wait. This is just going to get yoinked into the pit because the... Oh, no. The Tooth Fairy dying was actually critical here. So the reason being is you could have put Tooth Fairy here in order to prevent Klepto from going into the pit. And then it would put Klepto where he... So let's assume Sucky dies. You yoinks with Tooth Fairy here. Hevo goes here, Klepto goes here, and these two get pulled into range, and you have double splash, plus the boss, plus Akira splash. Now you have to reposition, or you end up... I mean, you're still going to get a lot of splash, but you're going to get counter yoinks into oblivion here. This is going to end poorly. Snowball down. Yeah, like that looked fine, right? You have to kill these two. The problem is the yoinks is going to kill your... Possibly both of these? Probably not. Definitely the boss, right? $325, not like this. Unfortunately, this will not die to the fire. There's really no way to prevent that. Oh, you can preserve the boss. You don't need double hits. All right, this is looking a lot better for Man in Yellow, chat. Where are the Klepto hits going to go? Or did you... They already did the Klepto hits. Never mind. Yoinks! Ooh, that is not a good yoinks for A. Markand. That does not look great. Akira into the pit. All right. 12 keys. Got him. Thanos snap, and down goes 12 keys. Is this enough, though? 0 key... By the way, A. Markand still has 7 keys. Ugh, feels bad, man. Feels bad, man moment. I love the daisy here. Only two phobies remaining for your opponent, one of which is on last legs. Rip Man in Yellow, probably. I can't really disagree at this stage. I cannot really disagree. Sorry, checking something real quick, chat. Yeah, boss with your fired down. It was definitely a valiant effort, but this army here is very healthy and very dangerous. Man in Yellow's not so much. Like, it's just not. In fact, by the next time that Man in Yellow is ready to do anything, I think yoinks may be back up again. Man in Yellow is close, but he tried too hard to abuse the spawn cap. I think there was a... I don't know if it was, I would say, tried too hard, because it wasn't like it was too many. I mean, it was clearly too many turns, but it wasn't a dozen turns. I think it might have just been one turn too many. Now, credit where credit is due. A. Markand, of course, is playing the game also, and their decisions impacted Man in Yellow's decisions, which is how the game should play, right? So it did come down to A. Markand's appropriate positioning, appropriate plays, appropriate phobies. But yes, I think that Man in Yellow may have tried to stretch it a little bit too far, and as a result, we're in the board state we're in. Who says you need boss, chat? Apparently Akira is more than sufficient. if you have one of these on your team too. Beauty. We haven't called Beauty's name in a while. Haven't put that name up in lights in some time. But Beauty has, in fact, put in a lot of work. Beauty has, in fact, put in a lot of work. What do you think, chat? Boss balanced, now that we've seen Akira manage to beat it a few times? Or is it both Akira and Beauty? Are we starting to see maybe the makings of an actual metagame as opposed to slam certain phobies and say, stop me? Admittedly, a bunch of the phobies that are part of the problem are involved in solving the problem. But with the Beauty Edition, it's starting to cause somewhat of a rotation here. By the way, the boss probably can't even attack the stabby. Going out on their own terms, man in yellow, GG, well played. Chat. We have our champion. We have our champion. It is A. Markin. Shout out to A. Markin for taking down Fright Night number 10. Shout out to all of our top 8 and all of the competitors. Definitely was an amazing event. A lot of fun to spectate, and I hope that it was a lot of fun to play in. If you're interested in playing in Fright Night or the upcoming Monster of the Week weekly tournaments, hit up the Randoms Thoughts Discord. Details for that, if you're here on the live stream, !Discord, or if you're watching this on YouTube, check out the links in the description, both for the live stream and the aforementioned Discord. I think that's going to do it for tonight. We've, of course, have later on this evening viewer game breakdowns, but of course we're going to be talking about this event as well, both tonight and into the future. Hope everybody had a good time. Definitely a blast for me. But that's going to do it for now. So as always, everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And tune in next time for more Randoms Thoughts.